This week, Congress actually did something they haven't done in decades. They passed a major housing bill. Both parties, overwhelmingly, and it's aimed at the one thing that's crushing your generation. You can't afford a home. And I'm the perfect person for this one because I'm on both sides. I want people to buy a home. I want to help them and provide all information. But I'm also a real estate investor. I own property. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about what's in it, who's it for, who it helps, who it hurts, and if it actually changes anything for you. Let's follow the money. This is Journey to the Bag. The two parties finally agreed on something. Housing is messed up. People can't afford a house. So they voted. The Senate voted 85-5, and the House voted 358-32. They came to agreement. They said this problem is too big to continue to ignore. The U.S. is short 4 million houses, and the prices are insane. People can't afford to purchase a home. Apparently, we didn't build enough homes. And you know how this works, supply and demand. The demand is higher than the supply, so the price goes up. We have too many buyers, not enough sellers, not enough homes for people to purchase. Seems like a simple problem, but what's the solution? All right, they passed a bunch of things. Let's get to it. Change number one, they are removing some of the red tape and allowing for builders to build faster without having to go through so many permit processes and take so much time. It costs a lot to build a home, and that's one of the reasons why homes are more expensive. But if they are able to streamline this process and build things faster, then supply and demand should even out and the prices should come out a little bit better. Theoretically, that's the thought process behind it. It's a catch-22 because I think the houses aren't being built as well as they used to be. And if you're speeding up the process, I think that leaves more room for error. Number two, they created a $200 million per year grant program that rewards cities that are able to rezone and build faster. So if a city is making changes to allow for expansion, building of more homes, then they'll get rewarded $200 million a year in order to build more houses. Number three, they are allowing for pre-approved models for homes. So ADUs, modular homes, things that you can throw up quickly. Those things are being basically let in by default. So you don't have to go through such a hard process in order to get those things approved. Four, they're allowing cities to repurpose commercial buildings. So office buildings that have been left vacant because of COVID or businesses go out of business, malls are being shut down, just huge buildings that can be turned into housing. They are allowing that to actually go down because before there was a lot of red tape, a lot of rules when it comes to housing, and you couldn't just turn these big buildings into units. They also threw in something for the buyers. They have a small dollar mortgage program which allows people to finance homes that are under $100,000. A lot of banks won't finance properties if they fall below a certain price. I guess because it doesn't make sense for them on the profit side. But this should help alleviate some of the pressure when it comes to purchasing. If you can find something that is that cheap, you can finance it. Now here's the big story, the big headline grabber that everybody's talking about. The bill bans institutional investors, firms that hold over 350 plus houses. But it doesn't stop them from building new homes if they're built for rent. Some experts would say that this is a good thing, but it could be a bad thing because those firms were buying up distressed homes, stuff that looked bombed out and depleted, and repurposing it, you know, renovating them and making them available for rent. So it could help, could hurt. The one thing is, these firms, they don't even own more than 3% of the total inventory. So supply is still an issue. We still have to build more. So the big question is, does this actually help you afford a home? Maybe not today. Maybe not for a while, because it's still going to take time to build houses. It's still going to take time to, catch up with the demand. There is an affordability crisis. The typical household needs to make $30,000 more than the mean in order to comfortably afford a house. You got to make over $117,000 to comfortably afford a home, and the median income for a household is $85,000. So we have a problem. And yes, this is a step forward, and that's all we can ask for, I guess, is for somebody to try to figure something out and solve a problem. Here's what I really want you to take from this. Yes, the government can come in and change rules and try to fix problems. That's what they're supposed to do. But you still have to take care of your end of the deal. Focus on your credit. Focus on your debt. Pay your debt off. Make sure that you have available reserves. Make sure you're ready. Get your money up. Be ready. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. So when things actually do change and housing prices start to come down, you're able to get in the game. You're able to execute. Focus on spending less than what you make. I have the same problem. Spend a lot of money. We have to try to hold on to some of that if we want to own moving forward. Let me know in the comments how you feel about this. Let me know if you think this will even help you. Okay? Drop a comment, drop a like on this video, share the video so other people will get more information on what's going on. Subscribe. And remember, the world is yours. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.